How's it going, my peeps? It is now time for the Raw results / highlights and review video. I'll go over the results of Raw, some of the highlights in my opinion, and give you guys my thoughts, my review on the show. So it kicks off with Hulk Hogan coming out for his big announcement. The announcement ends up being that at WrestleMania 30, there's going to be an Andre the Giant 30-man over-the-top rope battle royal memorial match. And the winner wins an Andre the Giant Memorial Trophy, and then Hogan shows the trophy on the Titantron, and then John Cena comes out, and to keep it short, pretty much, he says he wants to be the first to enter the 30-man match at WrestleMania. And at that point, I'm like, no, John Cena, we all know you're going to be facing off against Bray Wyatt, and Bray Wyatt's music hits. So then Bray Wyatt cuts a pretty long promo, but as always, it's a good promo, and pretty much in the end, John Cena challenges Bray Wyatt to a matchup at WrestleMania. And then eventually Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family surround the ring, or they're preparing to enter the ring, and you have Hulk Hogan and John Cena waiting the Wyatt family to go inside the ring. But then they go to commercial break. Once they come back from commercial, it's John Cena versus Erick Rowan. So I was like, wait, what? Because it was supposed to be John Cena versus Luke Harper, or at least that was what was announced on WWE.com. But anyways, John Cena ends up winning the match. It was a pretty quick match. John Cena wins with a roll-up. He doesn't, hit his usual signature moves. So got the win out of nowhere, surprise victory. And then Bray Wyatt's angry, and he sends out Luke and Erick Rowan to get back in the ring. But then he tells them to back down, and they get off the apron, and they don't fight Cena and Hogan. And by the way, Hogan was at ringside during the match, cheering John Cena on. And after the match, John Cena and Hulk Hogan just do Hogan's poses together, and that was it for that. Then afterwards, the Authority came out, Triple H and Stephanie McMahon on the stage, talk about what happened last week, and pretty much they say that Daniel Bryan needs to apologize, and that Triple H pedigreed Daniel Bryan because of Daniel Bryan viciously attacking Triple H, and usually that's grounds for termination. But since, they want to lead by example, they apologize. And also, they say that, they won't fire Daniel Bryan because they realize it's not what's best for business, and that there's a niche for Daniel Bryan, and it may not be as big as, like the Batista brand or the Randy Orton brand. And pretty much they say Daniel Bryan needs to apologize tonight, if not, there's going to be consequences. Then the New Age Outlaws come out for commentary for the Usos versus Ryback and Axel, and we get a little promo from Ryback announcing that he's entering himself in the 30-man over-the-top rope match at WrestleMania, and that after he wins that match, he's going to be the best big guy in the WWE. And the Usos win the match pretty much the same way they won the tag team titles, where one of the Usos, he super kicked Axel, who was the legal man, and then he jumped over the top rope, and at the same time tagged in the other Uso, who climbed up the top turnbuckle, hit the splash on Axel, and the Usos win the match. And then backstage, you see Kane and the Shield, and Kane tells the Shield he brought them here to talk about them, or to talk about, what's happened over the past couple of weeks with the Shield, the problems with the Shield has had, and he said they've been a valuable asset in the past, and he wants to see if they're still an asset. So tonight, since it seems, the problems within the Shield started when Reigns and Seth Rollins lost the tag team titles against Cody and Goldust, then tonight, they're going to be taking on Cody Rhodes and Goldust. And then Rollins tells Kane, is this really about us? Or, I'm not sure if it was Seth Rollins that brought it up, or Ambrose. Actually, I think it was Seth Rollins. He told Kane pretty much, is this really about us, or is it you trying to divert the attention away from your loss against Daniel Bryan at main event, and also getting beat by the Big Show, getting knocked out by the Big Show on SmackDown? And in the end, Roman Reigns tells Kane that the Shield, will take out any demons in their way, while staring him down, and then the Shield leave. And then it was Big E Langston versus Jack Swagger, Cesaro, and Zeb Coulter at ringside, of course. And this time around, there was no disqualification. Cesaro did not interfere or something like that. But at some point, you had Jack Swagger, attacking Big E on the ropes, so the referee pulls him back. And then when he was doing that, Zeb Coulter, the referee was kind of distracted with Swagger by pulling him back. So Zeb Coulter tells Cesaro to, attack Big E while the referee has his back turned. But Cesaro refuses to do so and doesn't want to interfere. So then Swagger gets mad and he starts yelling at Cesaro, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And then he gets rolled up by Big E, 1, 2, 3, Big E wins the match. After the match, Swagger and Cesaro argue, and Cesaro's all mad. Wait a minute. Swagger's all mad. Swagger's all mad, and Zeb Coulter also freaking rages, takes off his suit. He's like, "I can't take this," shake hands, and they finally shake hands, but Cesaro kind of, squeezes on Swagger's hand. And Swagger's like, "Come on, let go," because it's hurting him, and then Cesaro eventually lets go. Following that, we've got The Undertaker, but before he can say anything, Paul Heyman interrupts, and he actually hypes up the streak, says he worships Taker's streak, and he talks about it, saying that, other superstars have had occasions where they've won more than one WrestleMania in a row, but then they've lost. He brings up Shawn Michaels, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Triple H, John Cena. I think he said Stone Cold Steve Austin and John Cena have both won, I think, 4 WrestleManias in a row, but then lost the 5th one, or, that was their streak, but then it was broken. And I was waiting for him, maybe, I wasn't expecting it, but I was hoping he'd mention Edge, because I do believe Edge had a pretty good undefeated streak for a while. I think maybe he was 6-0 or something like that. He had a pretty good undefeated streak until he lost against Taker, but Heyman didn't mention him. And then he talks about how Lesnar, at WrestleMania, he's stepping into the unknown, but it's an unknown that Lesnar doesn't fear, but the Undertaker should fear. And then Taker, he says that, stepping into the unknown is the greatest fear, and that if Brock Lesnar steps inside the ring against him at WrestleMania, he will rest in peace. And then you see Paul Heyman kind of scared, and then he leaves. And that was it for that segment. Afterwards, it was Cody and Goldust versus Seth Rollins and Reigns. The Shield actually ended up winning the match when Reigns spears Goldust. By the way, the 2 legal men was Seth Rollins and Cody. Reigns interrupted the pin when Cody was pinning Seth Rollins, and then Goldust comes in, Reigns spears him, Cody takes out Reigns, he goes for crossroads on Seth Rollins gets out of it, Cody goes for disaster kick on Rollins, Rollins catches him in the powerbomb position, powerbombs him right on the turnbuckle, follows that up with his finisher, and then pins Cody Rhodes for the 3 count, and the Shield win the match. Afterwards, it was a Divas match, the Bell Twins versus Tamina and AJ. And Natalya was on commentary talking about Total Divas, and her matchup on main event, because she has a match on main event tomorrow against AJ for the Divas Championship. But anyways, as far as the tag team match goes, the Bell Twins win the matchup when Nikki Bella counters AJ's attempt at the Black Widow and then hits her torture rack finisher for the victory. After the match, Nikki Bella grabs the championship, puts it over her shoulder, although it wasn't a title match, it was just a tag team match. And then Natalya gets on the apron and just looks at, Nikki Bella holding the championship. And that was it. And after that, you had Daniel Bryan coming out to the ring. And this segment was pretty interesting. Actually led to something I was really happy about. Daniel Bryan comes out and cuts a promo saying, he's not going to apologize for standing up for himself, this and that. And then he says he's going to stay in this ring until he gets what he wants. And he says, yeah, I know a lot of people have said that in the past, but this time, he's actually talked to members of the Yes Movement, and they're going to stay there in the ring with him. So then you see a couple of people come out from the crowd. They're all wearing his Yes t-shirt, and then they go to commercial break, and then once they come back, it's filled with people with the t-shirts, both inside the ring and around the ring. And then, they start chanting yes, 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 saying that they're not going to leave, or Daniel Bryan saying that they're not going to leave if, of course, he doesn't get what he wants. And then Triple H comes out, and pretty much, to keep it short here, because this was a long segment, Triple H tried to get security to take the crowd out of the ring, escort them out, arrest them. But they only had 2 security guys. So then the security guys were like, what, F that, screw that. And then they left, and Triple H was getting angry, and then he tells... he says, you know what, let's just move on. And then he tells Damien Sandow to come out for the next match. Damien Sandow comes out, but Damien Sandow sees that, you know, they're all there and nobody's moving, nobody's gonna leave, so he also says screw that, and he leaves. And then Triple H and Stephanie get even madder. Eventually, Triple H gives in, and he accepts Daniel Bryan's challenge in his matchup at WrestleMania, so it's gonna be Triple H versus Daniel Bryan. Then I'm like, alright, and then after that, when Triple H was about to leave, Daniel Bryan says, oh, wait a minute, I forgot something else, you know, there's something else I want too. And then I'm like, oh shit, he's gonna say what I think he's gonna say. At that point, I got really excited. I was really hoping it'd be what I'm hoping it would be, and it did, because then Daniel Bryan said, you know, while these people do want to see me face off against you, something they want to see even more is see me fight for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 30. So then he tells Triple H one more condition. If he beats Triple H, then he gets put in the championship match against Randy and Batista, make it a triple threat at WrestleMania. And then Triple H rages even more, but then gets pulled back, and he accepts. So yes, we get Daniel Bryan versus Triple H, and on top of that, if Daniel Bryan beats Triple H, he gets put in the championship match at WrestleMania. So man, I was happy about that. Anyways, following that, it was Christian versus Sheamus, and the fans could choose. Throughout the night, they would say the fans could vote on the app which matchup or which match type they would compete in. Choices were Falls Count Anywhere, 2 out of 3 falls, or in Memphis, street fight. And since they are in Memphis, you know, it kind of seemed like that was like the obvious pick, or the obvious winner, the obvious winning pick. And also, Jerry the King Lawler was saying on commentary throughout the night that that was the match he wanted to see. So that ends up winning with like 67% of the votes, I think, or 64. I think it was 67. I don't know. 60 something. So, anyways, it was a pretty good matchup. Some of the cool spots. You had Christian actually hit a tornado DDT from on top. Sheamus was like next to the ramp, and not on the ramp, but right next to it, where usually Del Rio comes in with his cars, when he used to come in with his cars. And Christian was on the stage, and Christian jumped from the stage onto Sheamus, hit a tornado DDT on the concrete, or on the floor. And then afterwards, you also had Christian hit a frog splash he put a couple chairs on top of Sheamus and hit the frog splash, but Sheamus kicked out of that. And shortly after, there was a drum in the ring, which Sheamus brought in. Christian grabbed it, and at that point I was like, alright, it's pretty obvious what's going to happen here. I think I could predict a bro kick through the drum, and that's exactly what happened. Christian grabbed the drum, and he put it like directly in his face, and he was going to attack Sheamus, and Sheamus hit the bro kick through the drum onto Christian's face, covers him, wins the match. And yeah, once again, Sheamus beats Christian, and Christian has yet to get a victory over Sheamus since that Elimination Chamber victory, I guess, or pin over Sheamus at the Elimination Chamber, inside the Elimination Chamber match. And after that, backstage at Bryan Maddox with Randy and Batista, and pretty much they're kind of, I guess, they're kind of mid-conversation when we see them, but it looks like they were talking about Daniel Bryan being added to the matchup, and they're not too happy about that. Or Daniel Bryan added to the matchup if he wins against Triple H. Anyways, Bryan Maddox says the Authority has left the building, but before they left, they instructed him to tell Batista and Randy to, put their issues aside from one night so, they can team up tonight, since they have a tag team match against Big Show and Daniel Bryan. And Randy tells Batista that he's willing to put things aside, but Batista just looks at him and then leaves. After that, Lana introduces Alexander Rusev like last week. He goes on top of the podium or whatever it is, says his words, super athletic, and yeah, awesome, super athletic, and something else, but I don't know what it is. And then Bray Wyatt accepted John Cena's challenge for WrestleMania, so the match is on. And then for the main event, Daniel Bryan and the Big Show versus Batista and Randy. And towards the end of the match, Daniel Bryan had Randy in the S-Lock, and then Batista came in and broke the lock. And then Big Show, I think, took out Batista. But Randy hit the RKO on the Big Show, and then he was preparing for another RKO, this time on Bryan, though. He was behind Daniel Bryan, But Batista comes in trying to spear Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan gets out of the way, and Batista spears Randy by accident instead. And then I think Daniel Bryan runs at Randy. Randy ducks, and he puts Daniel Bryan in position for the DDT. He hits the DDT from the second rope, or in between the second and top rope. And then he prepares for the RKO once again, but Daniel Bryan counters it into a backslide. Randy kicks out, and then Daniel Bryan follows that up shortly after with the running knee and gets the 3 count. So Daniel Bryan and Big Show win the match. But after the match was over, it was only Daniel Bryan celebrating. I don't think I saw the Big Show. I think he was taken out, still out maybe from the RKO. But yeah, he ends by celebrating, chanting yes with the crowd, and that was it for that. So, man, highlights for Raw tonight. You know what? I like the Sheamus versus Christian match. And I'm glad the crowd this time didn't, I guess, crap on the match, or say this is boring or whatever, because, in my opinion at least, I think the Christian versus Sheamus matches have been great matches. I just don't think a crowd maybe was interested in that, especially last week on Raw when they were chanting CM Punk on every segment. They wanted to see CM Punk or Daniel Bryan, and that was pretty much it. But yeah, that was a pretty good matchup. I like the DDT from the stage onto the concrete or onto the floor. I like the ending spot, but it was predictable, but it's a nice spot. As always, I would have liked to see Christian win, because now Sheamus and Christian have faced off, how many times now since Christian has returned? They faced off like 4 times, maybe 5 times, I'm not sure. Every single time, Sheamus beat Christian. Christian only got a pinfall over Sheamus in a multi-man match in the Elimination Chamber. And that's something I noticed with all of Christian's feuds with main eventers. He might, he'll lose the matches, the one-on-one matches, he'll lose them all. And he might pin you when it's a tag team match or a triple threat match or something like that. For example, when he pinned Randy, when he was switching with Randy for the World Championship, he pinned Randy in a tag team match, I think after a spear or something like that. But that was pretty much the only time Christian pinned Randy in their feud. And then when it came to all the one-on-one matches, Christian always lost. And also, when Christian became the number one contender to Del Rio's World Heavyweight Championship at SummerSlam, he beat Randy in a triple threat match. He pinned Randy, but it was a triple threat match. And just like here with Sheamus, he pinned Sheamus, but it was inside the Elimination Chamber when there's other competitors in the matchup, other things affecting the match and the participants. But yeah, so highlight that matchup. Another highlight, the highlight of the night for me, the Daniel Bryan Yes Movement segment, where he and the Yes Movement, or occupied Raw. That was awesome. In the beginning, I thought it was kind of, I don't know, I didn't really like it when before they went to commercial break. There was a few people in the crowd, and I thought it was kind of, I don't know how to say, embarrassing. I don't know. I didn't really like it initially. But then once they came back from commercial and there was a ton of them inside the ring and outside, and the segment, became better and better. He got the match with Triple H, and I was like, all right, cool, But the segment really, it got a lot better once he, requested that one more thing, or if he forgot one more thing. When he said that, I was like, oh shit, I think it's coming. I think it's gonna happen, and we got it. We got the triple threat. He's in the, well, we don't have the triple threat, but we have, the possibility now of the triple threat match. If he beats Triple H, he gets put in that matchup. So that was cool. And, the Shield now back on the same page. It seems like the Shield might not be breaking up soon at all. Maybe they're, looks like they might just be turning face. And this entire thing was to lead to them turning face. Who knows, but it's interesting. I'm interested in, seeing what happens with the Shield next. But what I'm thinking now is things are going to start to look up again for the Shield. You had Seth Rollins and Reigns beat the guys that beat them for the tag team titles. tonight on Raw, and on main event, or was it on main event? Yeah, on main event, they also announced that it was going to be Dean Ambrose versus Mark Henry. Dean Ambrose defending the United States Championship. I'm pretty confident that Dean Ambrose is going to win that match and retain his title. So, overall, thought this was a good Raw. And I really liked the Daniel Bryan, segment. Christian versus Sheamus match was cool. And, yeah, good Raw overall. So anyways, as far as a rating for tonight's show, I would give it a solid 8 to maybe even 8.5 on 10. You know what? I'm going to give it an 8.5. Because I'm happy, man. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you did, as always, you can click that like button down below. I'd really appreciate it. And stay tuned for more videos from me this week. Match card predictions, all on matches, all that good stuff. Anyways, I'm out, guys. See ya.